Good evening. I am finally back. It is April 10th, 2024. I have been away for a while. Our last show was over a week ago, which is pretty weird.
Was.
Yeah, I went for a little trip into the woods with some friends and had a great time. Sam, I'm joined, of course, by Sam McGilligan, for all you who don't know.
That is me.
Hello, how are you? How have you been?
I have been just fine.
Just fine?
Yes.
That's it, eh? Just fine?
Just
Same.
fine.
I agree. I'm with you on that one. But anyway, welcome to Scouching Live. Before we get into it, I will also say that we are taping this during the live airing of Survivor, which both AJ and I are missing. So please no spoilers. Please no spoilers. And we'll chat about it on Monday if you feel like it. But just throwing that out there first. But anyway, welcome to Scouching Live. Of course, I'm Will Scouch. We're brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our affiliate link below or scan the QR code to provide a kickback to the show on anything you buy in the store. We're also brought to you by Puck Preps Hockey for all your NCAA and CHL prospect needs, which we'll get into in a moment because we've been busy boys.
Yes, we have.
We're also brought to you by Fractal Hockey Consulting, which is my business for hand-tracked targeted player analysis and recruitment packages for the NCAA, Europe, and beyond. And of course, we are partnered with the Golden Bucket Tournament that is occurring in late May 24th and 25th in Montreal, where plenty of scouts from all over Europe and general managers are coming. And if you think you can play over there, then there's probably a level where you can fit in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. Probably not me. I don't know if I could cut it anywhere in Europe. I'd probably have to go to like Thailand or something to play some level of hockey on a team. Like if I were to be on Elite Prospects, I feel like I'd have to go to like Thailand to get on there.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I did have a discussion with a friend of mine once about how low down the IIHF World Rankings banner like rung do you have to go to like not like to fit in? You know, what is the best team that you could be a plug on? You know, like Tajikistan or, you know, I don't know. But anyway, you can think about it.
I think I could make the Antarctica team.
The Antarctica team.
Yes.
Well, I don't even know if there's enough people on Antarctica at any given time to ice a hockey team, but maybe. I don't know. But anyway, of course, last but not least, we're brought to you by Scouching.ca, which is the website that obviously fuels this show, where you get exclusive access to innovative data tools with unparalleled insights into draft prospects and players making their way into the NHL. So welcome. It is the April rankings reveal. I finally put something new together. It took a couple of months. I had to stop myself from tinkering. Sam McGilligan, you yourself were tinkering just before the show started.
Yes, I was.
It is tinkering season.
If I have a first round that I look at and I go, yep. And then once I'm in the second round territory, I am just like, every time I open it, it's tinker. It's definitely not set right now. In fact, it's probably his most chaotic time of the year for second round. Like
the pre-U18
it will be an entirely different 33 to 64.
Yeah.
Like next week for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
One player will be in the same spot.
Yeah. So today we're going to be going through my rankings. The way this will work, we're going to be revealing in batches, I guess you could say. We're going to do some honorable mentions that did not make it in the first round, and we're going to reveal the first round from there. If you want the full version, it will be public tomorrow morning, which will have 80 names ranked. There's write-ups on everyone in the first two rounds, or 66, I think, or there are write-ups on 66 players, and then a bunch of fun players thrown in at the end that are worth a look. So, but before we get into that, I wanted to do a quick shout-out. Yuri Slafkovsky, first career hat trick.
Yes,
came a week after Logan Cooley's. Wink. But also shout out Austin Matthews. No, it's just funny. We got a wave of comments after Yuri Slafkovsky scored a hat trick, and I thought it was just funny. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
he's been really good first. He's been good.
Yeah, but he didn't do it first.
Yep. How is Slafkovsky better? How is he better? Apparently, he stinks according to us. But no.
I can't believe anyone would even ice him in the league.
I know, right? He's terrible. But what a night from him. A 9-3 win for the Montreal Canadiens over the poor Philadelphia Flyers, who are just...
That was insane. I won't go on a Habs fan tirade here, but like...
That was something.
Heck yes.
Yeah. That was something.
Go Habs, go.
I caught bits of it, and it was a pretty wild night. And also congrats to Austin Matthews, who now has the most goals in a single season since, I believe, 1996, when Mario Lemieux had 65, I believe that
69.
year. 69. So there you go. So he's on the way to setting a heck of a mark.
So he's having the best season in my lifetime.
Well, goal scoring wise, yes, I would say so. I don't know yet. But anyway, I mean, what a run he's been on too. What was it, AJ? He scored 6 or 7 in the last 6 games or something like that. I don't remember.
I think he's just been like at a 1-a-game pace recently.
Yeah. It's been just silly. So anyway, quick shout out to those 2 guys. But in any case, we're going to get into the rankings because we know it might take a little while. Sam, when was the last time you saw my own list? Because I don't share it often that much anymore.
Look at your list. I tried to look at it as less as possible, just so that like there's no influence there. So to be quite honest with you, I don't really know what it looks like at all anymore.
Okay, well, it'll be interesting because I mean, usually you and I agree, but when we don't, it is fiery. So we'll see which one of us lives.
I was gonna say we'll see who's just a corpse, but
we'll see who's alive at the end of this show. About the iconoclast takes. But we're gonna get started with a couple of names who just missed the cut for the first round. So we're gonna start down at I believe it's 40. The 10 guys that didn't quite make the first round here. We're gonna start with Merrick Vanacker at 42, Cole Baudouin, Sacha Boisvert at 40. That's a bit of a spicy one. Carter Yakimchuk, 39. We got Herman Truff, Scouching Discord meme favorite. Herman, he's in at 38. We got Emil Hemming at 37. Ole Josephson makes his first appearance on my list all season long at 36. So there's that. That happened. We got Miguel Marquez at 35. He's down from 32 on the list that I put out in January. Lucas Pettersson is now out of the first round. He's at 34. He was at 26. And Noel Franzen right there outside the first round, 33rd.
Good man.
Last rank was 34th. So right off the hop, the guys that dropped, I had Emil Hemming at 18. He's now at 37. You brought him up and kind of went, really? Like Emil Hemming, blah, blah, blah. And then I watched more games of him and I kind of went, I mean, I still kind of see where I'm coming from, but top 20 was a little crazy.
I have him at 35 right now.
Yep.
He's been a high second round pick, like late 30s to probably 35 might actually be his highest for me all year.
Yeah. Merrick Vanacker is up from 74 to 42.
He's been great, though.
He has gotten better and better as the year has gone on. And he's one of those guys I find that you appreciate more the more you watch them.
Yes.
And you kind of go, okay, like if you watch them, you know, just shooting pucks or just passing the puck or just doing one or the other thing, and not in aggregate, you kind of lose sight of what makes him so interesting.
100%.
And I think he just projects pretty well to the NHL. Cole Baudouin up a few spots, but Sacha Boisvert down from 20.
That's beefy.
Well, I mean, I really like him. I really love the tools that he's got. But I did a game of him recently, and I'm at the phase where I'm like, all right, push is coming to shove, right? You gotta pick someone. And if I'm at, say, 33, who have I liked more, right? Noel Franzen or a Sacha Boisvert, who I like both of those players. They're in the same tier together. But I don't know where. I don't know. I kind of lean one way. With Boisvert, I feel like at the end of the day, I think Boisvert could be a heck of a player. But he's one of those guys where you just kind of go, I need more.
That's fair. I definitely need more, but he's one of those ones I've assigned a little bit more faith to. Everybody's kind of picks and chooses their own for the draft, who they believe in a little bit more. Sasha's kind of one of those ones. Some of his like good games where it's like consistent for the whole game are fantastic. Like when I see that, I'm like, that's a top 20 guy.
Right.
But for me, he has slipped out of the top 20.
Yeah,
he's like just outside of that.
The skill and the shot, and he's big, and there's lots to like.
Oh yeah.
Just I think fluid, a bit of a runway for him.
Fluid but clunky at the same time somehow, which is really like interesting.
Right.
Like I feel like he's going to get a lot better doing things in motion and really using his range and his skill.
I hope so, because that's the big thing with him.
A bit of extra strength on him, I think that really it unlocks what he has in small area games and kind of really adds a level of consistency that he can bring shift to shift. But you know what? Let's see.
He's fun to watch, to say the least. Ole Josephson is a guy that I wanted to talk about before we get into the actual first round, because I've loved him.
He's grown on me. I'm not there, but I am a fan. He's almost definitely playing in the league.
Like, I would say don't let the points like dissuade you. I think he's been Like he's such a great quarterback, like in the truest sense of it. Like just a massive transition guy, both directions. He gets his chances, they just don't go in the friggin' net. He doesn't like Red Deer is not the most offensively gifted group of players, and he kind of does, try to create for them, but it doesn't really work. I don't know. I would expect Josephson to be a guy whose production grows quite a bit. There's plenty of things that he does really, really well, both directions of the ice, and I've just really, really liked him. And he's physical. He's a physical guy, more physical than you would think, which in the games I've seen. So big fan of Ole Josephson. And again, it's like I kind of go, okay, I'm just going to put him where I like him. And for me, it was like, well, once you get out of the first round, he's probably one of the better sort of transition quarterback players, that play up the middle of the ice naturally. But anyway, we can get into the first round because that's probably what people are a lot more interested in. So we're gonna go. We're gonna start with 10 at a time. I believe is what we have organized here. So we're gonna start at number 32 with from Switzerland, Mr. Daniil Ustinkov, who's down from 24. Love that guy, but he's really boring. He's good at being really boring, but once in a while you see him do cool stuff where you're like, all right, more of that, and I think you could be a lot better. But he's very safe, very stable, which I like. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're looking at it first, right? There you go. There's your first one. 31. We've got Beckett Seneke at 31. I believe.
Stolberg?
What? Sorry. Stein Solberg is at 31. My mistake. So Stein Solberg at 31, who I've really, really liked. Just a really, really, really talented defense first guy who I think, Sam is just putting thoughts together in his brain. Stein Solberg, really physical player out of Norway. Really, really talented, really good defense first guy who I think skates really well and he hits like a train, which, factors in. And in the late first round, you get a guy who can play down your lineup and go nuts.
Absolutely.
Number 30, we had Beckett Seneke, who is up from 35. He's now in the first round. Similar to Vaneker, a guy where it's like once in a while, you're just kind of like, well, that was really cool. Yeah. That was really useful.
I'm definitely grown a lot on Seneke. Seneke's like 22 from
and it's ironic you say grown because he's grown a lot in the last year, and you can tell that he's a little bit uncoordinated.
He's still uncomfortable, but the moments of brilliance show what he will be like in 3 or 4 years, and at those moments I'm like, that is something you can absolutely build off of in the NHL.
Like this tier spreads up to 19 for me, and if you had the 20th pick or something and we're like, no, we really want Seneke, let's go for it, we think we can take him and turn him into something, I'd be like, all right, fine, sure,
let's do it.
Yeah, all right, let's give it a go. Because all of these guys are probably project very similarly. 29, we've got Jet Lachenko of the Guelph Storm, up from 41.
Exact rank I have Jet
that makes sense. Just a really solid, smart boy.
Easy to really effective north-south player.
Yeah, I think coaches will love him. He goes to the net, he gets his hands dirty, really fun to watch.
Really good off puck.
My boy Topias Heinonen in here at 28, down from 23.
Was expecting that.
Yeah, I had him a little high, but I still really like him. I still think he brings a ton to the table, especially for sort of an undersized guy, but just fights through pressure. He's a guy that it's like, if he goes in the 5th round or something, or undrafted or whatever, I would probably pick him and be like, man, everyone just thinks you're not going to make it, so go prove him wrong, right? He works, you can see he works his tail off. You can see that there's a great shot there, I think, with him. Just a really good sort of procedural energy guy. John Mustard at 27 is in here. He's down a few spots from 25. I just don't know what to think about him anymore. I love him. I want him to be a thing.
I want him to be a thing
really bad.
I am still a big fan. I have soured's not the right word. I have come lower on him just because he started the year off electric and remained electric, but there hasn't been as much growth as I wanted in his game. And this is the exact game that I saw him play to a T at last year's Nationals.
Right.
And nothing has changed and everything's continued to work. So it's a question of does it work when he goes up to college?
Right.
Which it will to some extent because he's really good at what he does, which is just fly up the ice and get around guys and just go. But if it doesn't work as well, what does he start to do?
Right.
And does he finally start to play off of his teammates more? If the answer is yes, then I go, should have had him higher. If the answer is no, then I go, should have had him lower. And now it's like, okay, well, I guess in the middle ground is like, I think he is either 32 or 32 to 35, something like that.
Something in there. Me. I mean, yeah, I mean, the speed and skill combo, like in a straight line, there aren't many guys that are like him. He's probably, arguably, I would say he's maybe outside of the top echelons of the draft, probably the best puck carrying forward, just in terms of just getting there.
Like in terms of like go.
Yeah, just puck on stick, put your head down and go. Well, not put your head down, you got to keep your head up, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you can definitely argue that.
Yeah, and it's with him, you're right. Like it's the selflessness aspect of the game that he kind of doesn't have. And the other thing too is like he's so fast and so he's not small either.
No.
So it's like but if he doesn't have the puck, it goes away. Like a lot of the time. If he's more of a support defender, doesn't really sort of engage a whole lot.
He should and could be a give and go monster.
Right, exactly.
Like one of the best. If he just was if you added a really good give and go game into his rushes up the ice, I swear that would boost him at least 10 to 15 spots to like mid first easily.
Yeah, I mean he's also barely eligible for the draft,
which is that's another factor.
So he's a point per game USHLer that's like like 2 weeks away from a 2025.
And in his defense as well, he is playing up a level basically relative to almost everyone his age. Even though like he's in the USHL, a lot of them are, but he is really young. Most Americans, as you see the system he come from, are not going to be in the USHL next year.
Yep.
And the ones that are only a few of them will be impact players, and even among them, even less are going to be a John Mustard USHL star.
Yeah.
And he is the one out of all of them who just showed up and was like, hey, look, everything still works. Cool. Yeah. And I don't need to change anything. Every other one did to some extent.
And now
even the ones who are still really good or have found their own success have still needed to do that.
Yeah.
And because of it, I wonder if he goes to college.
Yeah.
And he finally does hit a wall. If it happens, does he go, all right, time to adapt?
Yeah.
Or does it go like, I will continue to do this?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to wait and find out. Coming in at number 26, we've got Linus Eriksson up from 43. You want to talk about a guy who's just gotten better over the course of the season?
Yeah,
holy smokes.
He is on fire. Most recent shift by shift I did just the other day.
Yeah.
At recommendation from a specific Swede. Linus Eriksson in the playoffs right now. Oh boy.
So good.
He's even better than he was a month ago.
Right.
He's like so dialed into the role right now.
Well, that's the thing. Like you want to talk about John Mustard being a give and go guy. Linus Eriksson is a hell of a give and go guy.
Linus Eriksson,
he gets up and down the ice super well.
It's the reverse of what we just talked about with the selflessness. Linus Eriksson doesn't know how to be selfish.
Yeah, almost. That's exactly right.
He doesn't know how to, he's so in tune with the team at all times. This is a kid who this time last year played his first set of J20 games.
Oh yeah, that's true.
He was now he is a
last year.
Standout high impact center in the top 6 for an all-Svenskan playoff run.
Yeah. He's good.
He looks and he's just improving in this environment. That's the type of thing where it's like, man, holy.
I think there's a ton of potential with him. He's just so smart. He just gets it.
He's someone I want on my organization.
Oh yeah,
this is the thought I finally had the other day. It's like when I'm at that point where I'm like, no, I want you in the organization. And I look at him and go, oh, there's 20 other people that have this status here. Join in.
Yeah, exactly,
Mr. Linus.
Exactly. And if we're talking about guys who are smart and have a little bit of tools to go with it, he is smart, and I think his tools have gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
Like his shot's a lot better than what I remember at the beginning of the year.
His skill level
is better, but he's not like the thing about him is like he doesn't jump off the screen at you. Like he doesn't Like the skill level isn't like, oh my goodness, look at this guy go. It's just I'm going to pull a puck around this guy, make a passing lane, and get it over to another player.
All it's all controlled.
Yeah, it's all very controlled stuff.
It's not. There's no moves involved. It's all just puck control in motion and doing everything to get angles set up the way he wants them.
Yeah, I've loved him more and more as the year goes on. The last game I saw, it was against a not so good team in Hockey Allsvenskan, but he just ripped them to atoms, down to their atoms.
Grown. He was a favorite in the summer who I was disappointed with early in the year, and I'm so happy to see that he's back where I'm like, man,
really loved him.
I shouldn't I gave up a little too soon on him because I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Well, luckily there's still time to not give up on him, right?
Yes, and that's why I have not.
Yeah. Michael Hage comes in around where he was, a little bit higher at 25. I don't know how much you want to talk about Michael Hage. We can later. I mean, just super skilled.
Yeah, we've talked about him a bunch in the past. It's impressive how far he is given the injury history. He's completely caught up. Lots of potential. Think he's got a bit more growth in his game than the other USHL guys.
Yeah. We'll keep going. 24, we got Consta Hellenius. He's up from 30. So for all you Consta Hellenius people, I see more of what you're talking about if you are truly watching him as much as it seems. I think he's a very smart boy. I still think that like top 15-ish range where he is crazy. Personally, it's a little much to me.
All I'm gonna say is just one thing. Is starting to grow on me a bit more. More so, not that he's doing anything different where I'm like, oh wait, I see it now. It's more so just like kind of starting to understand how the NHL might use him a bit more. And I'm like, okay, but in terms of like a star, point producer star, play driver star, anything like that, no. So I think early 20s, completely fair. Yeah. Same section for me right now.
Then your boy Nikita Artemonov at 23.
Yeah, let's talk about that. That's why I started spewing at the screen.
Last I checked, you had him at like 6. So
last I checked, I did too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
I'm still like,
I had him at 8 in January.
Yeah.
And the more I watched him, the more I kind of went, I see this guy as a third line NHL guy, nothing more. I don't think there's much more than that with him. I think he's really good at it. I think he's really effective, super smart. We love those selfless boys. We love the selfless ones, which he is. And I know it's the KHL, but the level of offense that he creates is like actual offense is really limited. For a guy who has that many points in a season, like the back half for that team, there was just no pucks going in the net anymore. And when I see Artemonov play, I go, okay, I love it. I love how this guy plays. He's probably going to get drafted too late, but there is something about it where it's like he's just, he's just not escaping pressure enough. He's not battling through it enough. He's trying. You love it. He's playing defensively, but the more I saw him, the more I kind of went, if I had someone actually left a comment too the other day on the YouTube channel from the last ranking video, and they said, I get it was insightful. It was like, I get why Hellenius would be a little lower for you based on what you like, which is fair. But then they also said, but then why is Artemonov so high? And I would say that part of that is like, well, the work rate and the intensity from Artemonov is a little bit more like Hellenius. If he sees a hit,
is extremely passive.
Well, if there's a hit to be made or a hit to be thrown, he'll get in there. But Artemonov is just a pest. Like he just follows you around.
Yeah, I see it between the two of them. It's like I see Hellenius as a really, really smart player who kind of picks his moments and makes smart passes during them. But considering he doesn't really have a whole lot of high pace into his game already, and it's all built around that, and pace is only going to get much, much faster. It's like, okay, what is he going to be without that extra gear in him that Artemonov not only has and is much better at utilizing in all three zones on offense and defense with or without the puck? Something feels off with that team from like the halfway point of the year. I watched one of Artemonov's games from earlier in the year and I was like, just to be like, what was I thinking? Because this last game I did of him recently, I was like, this is without question terrifying. And then I watched another one from earlier in the year and I was like, this is different. Like the team just does not seem as in sync. He was so aware of what his teammates were doing at all times.
Yep.
And was just making incredible passes everywhere. It really opened up his opportunities to use skill. I don't really see the same level of cohesion with anybody. Even his teammates were passing the puck better as well. And it's like the only players on that team who seem to still be doing better are veterans who have kind of like, been around for a while. So that makes sense. I don't know. Something feels just off. Maybe I'm overthinking it a little bit, but I don't know. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens next year because I still can't forget that first half tape. And I don't know. I'm kind of torn on it.
My full sample on him, I did a full 7 games on him. So there's a report coming out soon on YouTube and TikTok, so stay tuned for that. But like he, I just every single game he was just getting pounded possession wise. Like it just the numbers were not in his favor, but solid, capable passer, really good transition guy though. Like he was super involved there, and that matters. Hellenius, I think, is a lot less involved, right? That's what you mean by sort of more passive, right? Like he's
just like Armanov's like in and around looking to impact the play as much as humanly possible. Hellenius will, and he has great play anticipation, so he goes, this will be the moment that I strike, and then he strikes at that moment.
Moving forward, we got Thomas Galvis at 22. Respect. Yeah, I mean, I watched the last couple games of his over the last couple weeks. I thought he was great. Really skilled defenseman, probably in terms of raw skill level, like one of the better ones in the draft. Pretty solid, smart defender, I think. Yeah. Like knows where to be and what to do. He's not taking stupid risks or jumping out of the play or trying to be a forward or whatever a whole lot of the time. Sometimes he does do that and it's pretty cool.
But, he has the talent. That's what's impressive.
Yeah, but he seems to like pull things out of his toolbox when he needs them.
He's got restraint.
But again, he's another one of these like 5'9", 5'10" defenders, I think, or 5'11", something like that, who are lean offensive, and they are, he is a little bit slight and easy to push around and whatever, but he does counter that in my books with like just being a hard worker. Like he sticks to guys.
Not stop.
Yeah, he just goes. And when he sees a loose puck or there's a turnover that he causes or whatever, he's able to get out of there real quick, right? Yes. Like he gets the puck and he's sprung real quick, makes passes when he needs to, and just overall, it was another one too where I was watching other players and I kind of went, well, do I like this guy really like more than what I saw of Galvis? Like when Galvis is at his best and playing against men for the next couple of years, I don't know, not really. And then but there are plenty of guys in this tier that I would say, well, okay, maybe we get Galvis in 32 picks and we go for a Beckett Seneke now or a whatever, like that's cool, or a Michael Page or whoever. I saw some hype for Dominic Badinka in the chat for some reason. I mean, I love Dominic Badinka.
So do I.
I think he's really interesting, but I don't. I don't think he's like.
Will it went to 21?
Oh, what?
It went to 21. The first graphic.
Because he was on the graphic. Right. But anyway, yeah. I mean, I do like him. Really, sort of a good, smart, stable defensive player who I think has some offensive output. Like he's got a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
Just doesn't really get the chance to use it a whole lot, but he's there. He moves really well. Pretty smart defender.
Fluid always in flow of the play of the game. You can see him playing pro super easily.
Like and like you see a guy like John Marino in the NHL, right? Who's like, for a while there, everyone goes, who the hell is John Marino, right? And like, why is he playing 20 minutes a night for whoever? But then you watch him in detail and you're like, oh, that's why, right? Like, oh, I get it. Because he just plays solid defensive hockey and
he contributes.
And he contributes a bit offensively. Like, but he's a defenseman who can defend, which is good. So let us move into the next 10 picks, which is 11 through 20. So we're going to start at 20 with the other Nizhny Novgorod guy, Anton Salayev, who is lower than I thought he would be. but I watched a lot of them, and I don't know. He's a guy who I think you cross your fingers and pray turns out like he could, I think. Like, and I don't know how much I like that projection, right? It's like he's just so raw. Like, he's so tall, skates pretty well, but
why? It's just like, what are you taking a player in the top 24? Like, and if your answer is beef,
or if your answer is we'll see,
yeah, that's it too. It's like, you know what? I have zero doubt in my mind that out of every player that was just listed, Salayev will have a better career than at least half of them. And I don't know which half it will be.
Right. Yeah.
But I am willing to take the risks on those other players, and that the other half will probably be not too far from Salayev anyways. And like the boom potential with Salayev, I feel, is really small. And maybe this is just because I don't have hands-on experience taking a 6'7" defenseman and working with them for 5 years to make them sick at everything.
Right.
But like, as I don't have that experience, it's just not a pick I want to make.
Yeah, like with Salayev, again, a guy who I am nearly done a full data set on and everything, but the profile statistically for him is so boring. Like it's so boring. I mean, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just like he passes the puck quite often.
Yep.
He usually completes them.
Yep.
But those passes are not
crazy
pushing play up the ice.
It's like, hey, you're open.
Yeah,
here.
it's D to D. It's putting the puck around the corner behind him to a partner. It's a quick outlet pass to a winger who's on the half wall.
Yeah, like basic passes that you make in pro hockey, and you execute them without having to think about it.
And the trouble for him comes when he does try to push things up the ice. Like, I found that his reads on the neutral zone and when to throw passes in there and everything was really mixed throughout the whole season.
Yep.
He's not a very involved transition guy. He loves to let guys sort of enter the zone, and he uses his stick to sort of keep them away, and he's got the reach to be a guy there, but I think there's just a lot of work with him that needs to happen. And if you want him really high, fine. But I mean, I've been watching Anton Salayev. This is now my second season, and you look at his history, he does not score. That's not his game. And I can see why. When you look at the data, you can see why.
It makes 100% why.
It's fine. Like, he's fine. He could be something, but I don't know. Maybe this is just me. I like to aim high. I like to go, okay, who's going to be a guy like, maybe a 6'6", 6'7" guy who skates really well. You know, you always wish you had one of those, right? Like Jamie Alexiak, you know, who wouldn't want one Jamie Alexiak on their team? But it's like, are you going to draft a Jamie Alexiak 3rd or 4th overall? Or you look back on Adam Larson, right? It's like, there could be something there with this guy. And even then, those guys were, I think, further along, especially Larson. But I don't know. Salayev is weird.
Yeah, I think that's a completely fair read.
Yeah. At 19, coming in is Andrew Basha, who I had. Where did I have Basha last time around? Let me just look here.
Him at like 10 or something.
Yeah. So I had him at 10. So it's a bit of a drop for him. Honestly, really, it just comes down to, like, is he a guy who is going to score everywhere except the NHL? You know, he's fast, he's skilled, he's agile, he does so many things that are so fancy and so flashy. But for me with Basho, it's like, it's a very, if he doesn't have the puck on his stick, it's kind of like a mirror universe Andrew Crystal from last year, where it's like, you're faster than he is, but you're not as, like, next level creative, right? Like, you're more skilled, you're comparably skilled, I would say. You're up there.
I think if Basha plays in like a high-end offensive role, it will be as like the third guy on the line who, when he gets the puck, he's like really evasive and can kind of But do you really like see him going up against top 4 NHL defenders and consistently getting away from them, consistently getting off, and then finding the space and identifying lanes at the perfect timing window and saucing those passes in? And
I want him to.
I would love it if he sometimes.
did.
I think he will sometimes. I just don't think it's like, is he grabbing the puck? Every line coach is like, Basha, go get it done out there. This line needs a driver right now.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I don't feel his game is as complimentary as, say, Luke Misa, who might be slightly less skilled, but still skilled.
Right.
Even better skater. maybe not as evasive around pressure as like a skill player in motion, but still like just better in a straight line, turns slightly faster, and kind of plays off his line mates much more.
Yeah, I mean, I want Basha to work. I would love it if he did. He's so exciting and so much fun. Yeah. I just, I think there's going to be growing pains, and how a high scoring guy adapts to growing pains when they first encounter them that's you put yourself in their shoes, right? If every level of hockey you're scoring and scoring and scoring and scoring, and then when push comes to really when it's like it reminds me of like when I was a kid, where I went to a Montessori school until I was like 11, and I was doing like algebra in grade 6 because you could, if you wanted to, you could learn whatever you wanted really. And then so that in that sense I didn't have to study for a math exam until I was 16. And then when I had to study for a math exam, I freaked out because I didn't know what I was doing. I had never had to like take the time to like learn again for 6 years a mathematical concept of or for 4 years I should say, of like, I gotta catch up to this. This is, and it's a hurdle, right? Like it comes so easily for so long, and then boom, all of a sudden it doesn't.
And how well do you? And like these aren't comments I ever want to make about a player because I don't know them as well, right? So it's like this is where I have to go just look at their habits on ice and just kind of hope that
do your intel.
Yeah, I have lowered Basha to 22 myself.
Yeah,
but huge fan, really believe in the guy, would really want to draft him, would really want the right people like working with him. I think he's one of the safest bets to go to a fun team like Carolina or like
maybe. I mean,
I don't see like a meat grinder team draft.
No, right? He's not going to a meat grinder, but who knows? Strange things have happened. Next we got Zane Parekh, which I'm sure people will love. He's at 18 for me. I don't know what you want to say about Zane Parekh. We've talked about him to death, but I don't know. I love when he's in the offensive zone, man. He is he is really something in the offensive zone.
I am a fan. It almost comes across like I'm not, because I'm very skeptical of him.
Right.
I have grown on him quite a bit. I think how do you even comment on his defensive play right now? Right?
Well,
it's like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but I'm looking at him and just seeing like, and going up against NHL defender or NHL attackers, NHL forechecks, NHL this, NHL that. And if like, what happens to the guys who, I guess here's what I'll say with Parekh, right? A lot of times you see a defender who doesn't really defend the greatest or with the most effort or energy, or there's no clear strength to build off of, and they hit a wall. And some guys will cross this wall, and then the story becomes, well, not look at this. You just like when they reach the show, they'll get over it. But what you don't know is the amount of other defenders that didn't get over that. And it's like, it is a big deal. Whether he overcomes it or not, I can't tell. I don't really know if anyone can do or can kind of tell right now without talking to him directly. Well, there's just no clear. Everyone says his defensive game is not that bad, but I'm like, what clear strength does he have in there that you can see working against NHL top 4?
Yeah.
Hell, top 6 caliber forwards. He's supposed to be like a number 3, number 2 in terms of projection, right? Like,
like the guy that was brought up to me, who now that I thought when I thought about it, he reminds me of, is John Klingberg, where John Klingberg is a guy who skilled, has some potential to make some really high-end offensive plays in the offensive zone, or at least he used to in his olden days.
Yeah,
when he was at Dallas.
First got with Dallas.
He had a few seasons there where you're like, holy smokes, this guy really is something. But then you look at his metrics and it's like, well, he bleeds goals against. He's not the best defensive player. He's very pass heavy, very offensive leaning, which again, and this is the thing. This is the thing about sports and hockey and whatever. It's like, if you don't really mind that, if you look at a John Klingberg like Dallas did for so long and said, yeah, we know that there's problems with him, but he goes out and he scores 70 points a season. Like, what do you want from us, right? That's fine, right?
Yeah,
I get that.
Completely. It's just like, how do you want your team to be built? It's like, I don't know. I'm not sure I want a defenseman like that. Like, if I got prime John Klingberg as my number 4,
yeah,
I'd be
cool.
like, I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm getting prime John Klingberg as my number 4. If that's what Zane Parekh is, then that's super happy. I currently have him ranked at 13.
Right.
I would be happy to take prime John Klingberg and make him my number 4 at 13 overall.
Yep.
There's a little margin for error if he doesn't, reach that point. And there's also, if he does actually hit, like in full swing, then that's fine with me. But there's just a few guys who, when I look at them, I'm like, yep, that's the guy.
So, yeah, I mean, we talked about him a lot. I mean, he's the 6th ranked defenseman on my board, but all 6 of those defensemen are in the same tier from 5 until 19. So, like, if you really, really love him and your team is so desperate, well, not so desperate, but if your team is really looking for skill on the back end, then okay. But I just, again, like, over the years, I've sort of seen a bunch of these high-scoring, high-flying offensive guys come and go, and there's a bit of a correlation between some of the issues and some of the strengths and where they turn out in the NHL, and whatever. But I still, I'll be looking at him a few more times before the end of the season, and who knows, he might be my second guy by the end of the year. Who knows? I don't know. But at 17, to make you happy, this is just for Sammy, Luke Misa at 17.
Hey, I also have him at 17.
Yeah, a guy who was 16th on my list last time around, so he's moved down. Forgive me.
Moved down like 7 spots for me.
Yeah, I mean, we love talking about him, but like super fast, super engaged, really good forechecker, one of the better forecheckers I think in the league, in the draft. Just a great up and down winger, great energy. The pace of his game is super good. Like, in terms of being at least a guy, I think there's something there. A guy who can just go out and play, play hard, play fast. There's obviously some refinement I think that needs to happen with him, but I think that concerns with him are a little overblown. I just think there's a really talented player there. Like, just so much to like.
He's got one of my favorite toolkits in the draft, and he's really showing me that I think that he can make that work in the NHL. What I'm not 100% sure on is, although I do believe it can 100% work, is like the high-end skill creativity that I was believing was going to manifest by this time in the season back in October. Kind of never manifested the way I wanted it to. So he's kind of got the bump there because I gave him a little bit of a leap of faith in terms of that, but I still 100% believe it can show up down the line. He just plays such good hockey without that anyways, that to me, it's like, all right, well, that does limit the possible like huge boom upside that you had. Yeah. But as an effective NHL player who really helps in transition and like helps just move pucks well in the offensive zone and just sends a lot of passes into the slot, like the NHL, smart players can pick up on patterns. They know when to anticipate a defender leaving and why that when their teammate cuts in this way, that defender has to pick him up and this will open up this lane. And Misa's fast enough to get there, and he likes to just go whoop. Yeah. Not every dangerous pass in the NHL comes from manipulation. Yeah. A lot just come from timing and whoop. Yeah. And Luke Misa is a volume whoop guy through and through. And I'm really believing that, like, if he picks up this time in the NHL, that's just points.
And again, like, I'm just looking at his data now, and this is after, I think, 5 games, which, at this point, things don't usually change that much for me. But he's taken or created 55% of his team's shot attempts. He's got more shot assists than a lot of people in my data set.
That makes sense.
When he makes those slot passes, they are completed, like, at a pretty decent rate. Like, something happens, right? And a lot of what happens, from my experience, is they just send Porter Martone to the net. They just go to the net. Luke Misa will find you there. He'll just go to the net. Yep. And he taps it in. And it works. He bashes shin pads. He bashes goalie pads.
Yeah.
And that's where you get your production from, which I don't see like, if anything, that's an NHL style of play.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean with it. It's like he's not doing the crazy junior things you want to see because that's the few that do make it on the first line. We're doing it in junior too. It's not like I'm expecting him to add this now, but man, he's just so clean with it.
Yeah. At 16, we have Cole Yzerman, a guy who I just watched yesterday or 2 days ago. He's down from 11, but I'm pretty soft on that. Like I just don't know what he is. And I mean, we can talk about him a little bit, but for me,
we talked about him last show, and the show before. I think.
And the main thing is like I think what you're getting is a little bit limited. Again, way more goals than assists, which on one hand is a red flag in my books, but on the other hand, I think Cole Yzerman's passing is underrated. Like in the offensive zone, I think his ability to do that kind of Luke Misa thing of play hard below the goal line, put the puck out in front, does that really well.
Feel like his line isn't trying to score goals.
Right.
Almost, I know that's stupid. Like, I don't mean it literally, but it's almost like Yzerman's passing to people who, if it was up to them, they'd want Cole to take the shot. Feels like the whole team knows that when the puck is on or when Yzerman's on the ice, they want the puck on his stick for the shot. But because he gets so much attention in his shooting lanes, he's gotten so good at learning how to pass out of that shot threat.
Yeah, I with Yzerman, it's like if he goes 5th overall or something, I'm going, all right, I see it. He's a wicked shooter. I was about to say a very naughty word, but he's just a wicked shooter. The problem is he just shoots from everywhere for me. Like the number of times where Teddy Stiga quarterbacks a rush, passes it to Cole Yzerman across the offensive blue line, and it takes 2 seconds to cross the blue line and shoot. It's tricky. But anyway, we talked about him to death. Sam Dickinson then comes in at 15, still at 15, started there. He's there now. I know.
Shake my head.
I know. I keep watching him. I keep watching him and watching him and watching him, and I keep seeing the same thing. I
completely get it.
Yeah.
And I think for how you evaluate things, Dickinson being much higher wouldn't really make sense. For me, just repeating what I said earlier, that leap of faith. One of the players that I just have that extra bit of faith in.
Yeah. Next up, we have Igor Chernyshov, who's up from 19, who I definitely had too low. He's at 14 now. I don't know exactly why I like him so much, but just a guy in the KHL who drove a lot of good results, made a lot of good plays.
I get a little spooked by the idea of him, mostly because it's what I said to you the other day when we were on a call. I was just like, man, it's like, I personally, I won't let this affect my ranking too much because I personally would be thrilled to have Igor join my organization. Right. But I don't feel like he gonna get the development that other players are gonna get.
I don't know.
He has an insane skill set and a super valuable one-on-one ability.
Yeah.
He will destroy players one-on-one, and it you bet on that, right? But there's a lot of his game that doesn't really connect right now, and it has to in the NHL, or else he's never going to get the puck in space to have those one-on-ones.
I think the big thing with him is the thing that kind of brought me around on him a little bit, because I did have him lower, was I think his defensive game is a lot better than you would think. To me, it's like he's a guy who, if you develop him, it's like you just got to quicken him up a little bit. He's got a fast first couple of steps, but then he just kind of stops, and guys close in on him, and he needs to make a play and all that stuff. He doesn't really have that escape level speed, but I mean, I've got tons of data of him in the KHL, and he just goes out and produces, right? He just goes out and he doesn't score a ton of points, but he's getting scoring chances from in front of the net. He's setting up plays. He's not passing the puck a ton. He doesn't touch the puck a ton. But as a sort of offensive, complementary playmaking guy who can shoot and get into scoring position, I think he's interesting.
I see that, because this is the thought I ended up having with Basha as well. Of is Basha going to be that main guy? No. Is he going to be a complementary guy? Yeah.
Yep.
I see Igor in a similar light, and I have him above Basha for that specific reason. But in terms of this tier, they're both kind of like the last two players in the tier for that reason.
I think that's fair. Teddy Stiga comes in at 13.
Let's go. I was proud of you when I saw it. I have him at, is it him or Perek at 13?
I don't know.
It's 13 and 14.
But either way, I mean, holy smokes.
Yeah,
I love
he's insane.
I love this guy.
He's insane.
Yeah, I don't care that he's not super big. I don't care.
He's not 5'8" though. That's fine with me.
The more I watched him, the more I kind of went, all right, other guy, like
he just
like other guys less.
No one else is like doing consistently.
Well, the pace that he plays at and the ability to like on the fly like make plays happen, or make reads and find ways through traffic, and like the way he does, you watch him and you're like, the more I watch him, the more I just kind of look at him and I go, like, he doesn't matter who he's playing against. It's just he just goes out, he will take the puck from you, he will carry it up the ice and leave you in the dust, and he will do something in the offensive zone.
And he will do something insane.
And he could do something crazy.
And he is so good. Like, I felt like I was really struggling to define what really changed him and what was the difference between him and Yzerman other than like raw skill level. And I felt like one answer was Stiga isn't just more skilled. He is so creative in the fact that how he gets out of situations he's kind of gotten in trouble in.
Right.
Like, he does make mistakes. All of those aggressive puck carrier, like attack first, like just I'll put the puck between my legs and go through three of you, I don't care type players are going to make mistakes. But how good his second effort is he's better than everyone else in that aspect.
Yeah. I agree. Next one up is before we go to the next tier, actually there's two more. Liam Greentree of the Windsor Spitfires and Michael Brenzek Newgard ends the top to the 11 through 20 range. Greentree, I mean, we talked about him a lot. Super adaptable, really projectable.
Just skating.
It's the feet. Yeah.
If he had skating, man,
he'd be a hell of a player.
He would be top 5.
And the reason why he's higher on my board is because I kind of go, I'm not going to throw him in the trash because of that. I'm going to go, all right, then it's easy. It's an easy case study to look at. You just go, okay, if we can get the skating level up to, a better standard, and, he scored 90 points, sort of like lumbering around like with guys all over him on that team, guys all over him all the time, finding ways to make plays, battling to get to the net.
It's crazy how we're talking about adaptability.
Yeah, like he figures it out. It's crazy. And Michael Brenzek Newgard, who I really like. He's down from 7 on my list, but at 11, I think he's like third line NHL
he's just
guy.
I just
super
don't
smart.
Want to take that player with a top 15 pick, but I get anyone who does.
Yeah, no, I love him. I think
I really like him.
He's annoying. Yeah.
I want someone to at least have that second line chance, And I mean, it's not like he doesn't have it, but like,
right.
It's
whatever. So, well, I guess that brings us to the top 10, which is going to be a tremendous amount of fun because, I mean, half of this draft for me is like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what's happening here. Like, I've got guys at 5 or 6, and I'm like, do I really want to take that guy that high? I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, running through it at 10, we've got Tej Ginla of the Kelowna Rockets, almost a year younger than Michael Brenzek Newgard. I mean, there's a lot of talk about Tej Ginla. I think we should stop here for a second because someone asked about him. Following reports, Montreal have met with him many times. How high is too high for Tej Ginla? How high can the bloodline bring him? And so, I mean, Montreal's looking at what? I think they have the 6th worst odds in the draft this year, 6 or 7, I think.
Yeah, that'll be crazy when they take him over Celebrini.
I mean, yeah, they probably will. Yeah, they probably would. They love him that much. But no, I like Tej Ginla. I think 10 is a little high for my taste, but I get the hype. Like, he's quick, really skilled. I mean, I wouldn't be put off by the fact that he scored goals and doesn't have as many assists, which, again, like, usually a problem for me. But based on watching him, I'm going, I don't think that's his fault. I think that's the guys on his team.
Yeah,
he doesn't play with Crystal. I can't even remember.
There was a couple games they played together.
Oh, I haven't seen any of them. So
I think it was more so like line matching. I don't know what. I've seen it happen in 2 separate games, and they were very close to each other around in January. And it was awesome. It was so sick. Yeah. Anyways, back to Ginla.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, if I'm Montreal and it's like 6th overall, like, you're going to get it. It's the same thing as like Slavkovsky. You're going to get a player. He will be good, right? Like, Ginla will play for the Montreal Canadiens.
Yes, he will. And he
will be, fans will like him. I do think there is a certain level of, my dad is an NHL great, and my dad won't tolerate if I'm not doing pro habits, right? Like so much of staying in the NHL is like those pro habits that they talk about, right? Like eating right, sleeping well, showing up on time. It's a job, like it's your job. And so I think that there is some level of truth to that being a bonus for him and something that you could rely on. And he is quite young for the draft. I don't know. I see a guy who plays like a power forward in the NHL, but doesn't really have the size of a typical NHL power forward. But he's very quick. He can sort of dash through traffic pretty well. And
really good small area
player. Yeah, really good small area player.
Small area game.
It is. I think he's just really projectable. Same thing with Brandsick Newgard, and it wouldn't be a bad pick at all, I don't think.
I don't think
it depends on who you're passing on.
It's like if you're leaving Demidov or Cat, and then it's like, all right, well, okay,
I have no idea who you're talking about.
We're doing it again with Reinbacher and Michkov.
I have no idea who we're talking about.
Iginla, I will say, I think has big boom potential in terms of, maybe boom's not the right word. Teams are going to spend a lot of time developing him.
Probably
and work with him. And
jamming him in the NHL.
Yeah, and I feel like for Montreal fans out there, I don't think it is unrealistic to do the whole like, wow, Marty St. Louis and Tidge Iginla kind of thing, just because of like St. Louis seems to really be a player's coach, and his development is quite clearly one of his best strengths. And there are certain matches like that really just elevate players when they're in the right environment. And Tidge is definitely he gives off the vibes of a big market player.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. Is this the right reason to take him over some of the other guys?
Again,
no.
It depends on who's left. It
depends on who's left,
but
I'm not against it, and I'm liked him all year long.
Yep. Someone commented, unless you're Ovechkin or Kessel, then you can eat whatever. That's very true. That is very true. I mean, it is, and you might laugh, but man, diet and athletics, it's a big difference. Oh my God. When I play sports and I eat chicken and rice, I feel great. When I play sports and eat pizza, I feel like I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I will pass away right there on the rink, right on the surface. I mean, I feel that way anyway, but that's because I'm just out of shape in general. But the food makes me feel better,
This is what peak physical performance looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Next up, we got Trevor Connolly at 9 of the Tri-City Storm.
Oh, that's right. Trevor Connolly.
I don't know what he is, but I really like him. I think he's
wheels and deals, son.
super talented player, fast, skilled,
unbelievably shifty.
Arguably, I would say one of the best transition players offensively that I have in my database this year. The guy Tri-City just gives him the puck and goes, all right, see you on the bench at the end of your shift, like have fun. Yep. And he just does basically whatever he wants, which is both a good and a bad thing.
Yes.
Tons of offensive creation on his metrics, lots of shooting, but they're not from good scoring areas a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So his shot selection could use work, but just as an up and down the ice transition player who I think when you put him with better line mates, like Tri-City didn't have the best team this year, I think he could be really something.
I've seen him play with lines that he clicks with, and he has zero issue like playing perfect, like 30, like his third of the ice and letting his other two guys play. It's very clearly, it was night and day when I saw Connolly with Tri-City is when I finally went, oh wait, you're really selfish now. It was beforehand where I was like, man, this dude is just a play driver in the purest sense. This is insane.
That said, like when he has played outside of Tri-City this year, when I've seen him, like I've really liked him. Like at the World Junior A, he was great.
Yep, BioSteel, great.
Yeah, the BioSteel game, he was indeed very good. Yeah,
when he was going for the Holinka qualifications last year, and that was like, holy crap, like insane, holy.
Yeah,
he can be a dog.
Let's jump up to number 8. We got Artyom Levshinov. I mean, we've talked about Levshinov for about 1 billion hours, so I guess we can circle back if we want, but we can move on. But I like him a lot. Obviously, he's my top 10. Zeev Buyum comes next at number 7.
My highest rated defender of the draft.
He is my 3rd, but there's 2 defensemen ahead of him, literally 1, 2. So pretty close. Big fan of Zeev Buyum. The only thing with Zeev Buyum that I don't know if I'm Like the game kind of needs to be at his pace, you know. Like he pushes things once in a while, but he's a little bit more of a calm and collected guy. Not the best skater, I would say. Very mobile and very.
He's always moving and has great anticipation for what play is going to be, and that helps make up for it. It's just like, is this something does this carry him all the way to the NHL and still works, or does it catch up to him and he loses a bit of his game without a bit of a explosivity increase, I guess I would say.
And I think it will in a way. I just think it'll be like limiting on his overall. Greg Revac is here. He says Zeev Buium stinks. His athletic tools aren't good enough. Which, I mean, you know what? Number one, that can be a deciding factor in the NHL.
It can.
Number two, you're dealing with an 18-year-old kid who you're not going to have in the AHL or NHL anytime soon. You hit the gym, man. You know, like, I don't know. Like, I think that it's the same thing as Green Tree, right? Like, all of the ingredients are there, right? Obviously, because the output is so good and you can see it, but there's like one area where you're like, this could, instead of being a really great player in the NHL, it might just downgrade you to a good one with some holes in your game.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair approach. It's just like none of the defenders this year have it where there's like flaw free, and Zeev just plays the type of game that him and Frey are the two that play the game that I'm looking for the best. But I believe in Buium just a little bit more.
Moving on, we got another defenseman. Adam Jiricek is on here still. I mean, I had him a little lower. I had him at 5th in January, but now he's at 6th. But I for a time I put him down a bit. But
not on this train with you, but
you're not on it.
I love Jiricek. I just not at 6 overall.
He went back to when I watched every minute he played at the World Junior,
he was insane.
He was insanely good. Like, I thought he was. It's such a shame that he got hurt, but we've said it a million times, but in the Czech league, a little outmatched, physically underdeveloped, but the friggin' guy just plays defense so well.
Yes.
Moves the puck well. I don't know. I've been a big fan of his. But number five, we've got the boy. We've got the guy.
It's gotta be him.
It's gotta be him. I put an Alphonse Frey there.
I think know he was there for you for a little bit. I didn't realize that he made it all the way.
Apologies for the spelling mistake. His name is not
nothing like a good old typo in the official graphic.
Nothing like a typo.
Here's Alphonse Freggie. I've got him in top 5.
I wish his name was Freggie, but unfortunately it's not.
Thanks,
but anyway.
the same way you gave me a list that put Chernyshov at like 17 on the actual thing, but it had him listed at 14. Like, he was 17th on the thing.
Yeah.
So that was also.
I never said I was perfect. This show is held together with band-aids, but that's okay. But yeah, I mean, look, Frey at 5. It's not that I think he's the 5th best guy in the draft, but when I look at all of these dudes and then I go back and watch him, it's like, well, I like him more. Like, there's just so much there to love. There's just so much, like, the skill, the skating ability. He's both fast and mobile. Like, he's done some amazing things offensively.
That
I've seen. Internationally, he's been lights out good. Like, he's over a point a game for the Swedish team this year. I think he's gonna, like, at the under 18s, I would not be surprised to see him there and do extremely well.
I'm expecting it.
Maybe once in a while, people might go, maybe this guy is really something. Because, again, it's like, I've seen him so many times this year. Like, when this happens and I have a guy where I'm like, well, I feel a little crazy and my imposter syndrome kicks in. So it's like, all right, I'll go watch another game. I'll go watch more stuff of him and see. I'll go watch more. I'll go track another game. We'll do this. He's still there.
He just passes the test.
He's still there. Like,
this is like what happened with me with Artemonov at 6, except this time now I'm looking at him going, oh crap, now he's not doing it. So I'm in purgatory.
I mean, yeah, and like, again, like, to me, this group from 5 to 18, like from Frey down to Parekh, is so close. Like, it's honestly like, if you just want a guy who can go out and play physical, there's a couple of them. If you want to bet on skill and high end offense, there's a couple of them.
Yep.
There's guys that are projects, guys that have some flaws in their game that could limit them. But if you think you can get through them, then go for it. I just think of all of them, like the guy that I've enjoyed watching the most, who I think is the most effective at sort of his bread and butter style of play is Frey. Like, his defensive game is fine. It's not a strong point, but it's fine. And his offensive game is lights out in terms of how offense from the defensive position works in the NHL. Number 4, Caden Lindstrom, a guy who is finally back from injury.
Yes, and
who was
he
playing
looks
in
great.
Well, they got eliminated in the playoffs. Medicine Hat was upset in the first round, which is something unfortunate. So Lindstrom is now probably, I would think, going to the under 18s. Big fan of him. Just again, like kind of like Leo Carlson last year. It's like he's kind of built for the NHL.
Yeah,
big, fast, physical, skilled, brings everything to the table. Just in terms of
super good with his reach and motion.
Yes, yeah.
Like,
it's just like the vision on the ice and taking on too much on his own and.
Which
blah,
are
blah,
things
blah.
that you can
work
will
on.
Be like absolutely worked on his game. Like
hopefully
he's thinking. He makes enough passes at a high level where I'm like, hey, you see it. Like, you see it. You absolutely sometimes take on too much. And congratulations, you're another 18-year-old gigantic, like extremely toolsy, dominant center in the WHL. Of course, you're doing that. Makes complete sense.
Yeah, for sure. And then at number 3, a guy who I had at 2 last time around, Berkeley Catton, number 3 on my board.
Rock star.
We talk all the time about Berkeley Catton. We love
unbelievable player.
We love Berkeley Catton.
Has never been outside the top 3 for me. I think since the year started. I think that you can say the same thing.
Yeah.
I think.
Yep. I mean, again, I've said this a few times. I do not know how he scored 54 goals this year, having seen him a bunch of times this year, but somehow the puck just goes in. Like,
it's just genius.
Yeah, I just don't get it, but I'm sometimes dumb, I guess. I don't know. I don't get it. So
much for Catton is just how well he finds his shooting lanes and how much space he gets and like the perfect timing.
Yep.
Like, he will pop in at the net front at the exact moment. Like, there's like maybe half a second for someone to take a shot there and catch the goalie moving, and he'll just pop in there, angled perfectly, just get this puck on stick.
Yep.
Nice little touch in the net.
Definitely one of the best.
One of his ways of scoring goals.
Definitely one of the best slot passers I've tracked, like, ever. Just one of the best, like, data wise.
Do you mean like in the draft or like ever?
Like, I haven't tracked like dangerous shot assists forever. Like, it's been a couple of years.
I just can't remember many players better at it than him.
But like 2/3 of his slot passes are getting completed. Like, a lot of players are 50-50 on passes in general, right? Like,
he's
let alone
65% or whatever it is.
Right. And it's crazy. And he's a great transition quarterback. Like, he brings so much to the table that I look for in a player. Like, the way he thinks and sees the game, the way that he sees his line mates, the way he hits his line mates in stride, like, just such a, like, you put him with Cole Eiserman's going to score 50 goals, right? Like, it's crazy. So I dig him a lot. Number 2, though, speaking of digging him a lot, let's talk about Ivan Demidov a little bit. Number 2 on my board, Ivan Demidov, winger for SKA St. Petersburg. I don't know what the hell he was doing in the minors for the last bit of the season. He was scoring 3 points a game, I guess. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, it was going to be like, he was committing crimes.
He was, like, it was so stupid.
Unfair. It was one of the most absurd examples in recent memory of a player just so drastically outskilling the league that he's in.
Like dominant. Like, even against the good teams in their division,
he was no one good when Demidov was on the ice.
He was dominant.
There was like nothing anybody could do at any point. He did whatever he wanted. And it's like
the shots that, like,
the way he plays out of a turn is so next level.
Well,
like, he does not seem to lose any control of his momentum. So he comes out of a turn and there's a defender right there, which will happen all the time in the NHL. A lot of guys are looking for, okay, where's the seam between the two of them to pass through? What options do I have? And Demidov just does this awesome thing where he goes, hey, want to see me turn again? And then he just turns around just as sharp as the first time. And now both players that he just juked in the span of like maybe 900 milliseconds total, like a second, 2 seconds max.
Yep.
Both of them are just completely lost. Their momentum against them. He's taken off the other way, head up, complete control, looking for the third person to just go destroy. It's it's insane. I've never seen. How many times have we seen players like this?
Yeah. So just for the record, he passes the puck per 60 minutes at 5-on-5 more than anyone I've tracked. That's including defensemen.
Yes.
He completes his passes almost 3/4 of the time.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Also
that combination
and that's
is insane.
including him forcing passes just for the sake of it.
He's averaging a slot pass attempt every 2 minutes on the ice, which doesn't sound like a lot, but
no, that's
really insane. Like he has more shot assists, so like connecting with partners and they shoot from somewhere. He has a higher rate of that than most players have, just slot passes in general. Like he's connecting on so much crazy stuff. Like he's involved in almost 50% of the transitions offensively that St. Petersburg had with him on the ice. And he's
as a forward,
and he's successful 86% of the time, 87.
Yeah,
like that is
about right.
Absurd.
I am
like, there's nothing in his data for me that I would go, I am concerned about this, unless you're looking for a physical guy. That's about it. Like he like, I look at his number of offensive turnovers and it's really low, offensive zone turnovers, and it's really low because they just always have the puck in the offensive end. There's no time for the opponent to possess the puck for him to cause them to turn it over anyway. It's crazy. So I think he's the only guy, I think, where if we were sitting at a draft table, like I know my top tier is 4 names, so we could have discussions about all of them. But if you were sitting there and you were like, okay, be real. If we were to say no, let's say Macklin Celebrini, got wasted and drove a dump truck off a bridge or something, and everyone's like freaking out. It's like if we chose not to go for Macklin Celebrini, where do you go? Like over the year, my brain has gone from I'm kind of scared of Ivan Demidov to holy friggin' crap, this guy could be on a cereal box.
I am still at where I was when I think I said it on like the second or third live stream we had.
Right.
It's like, do you know how good Celebrini has to be to hold on to that spot right now? Because like every fiber in my being says, what player do I want? It's Demidov. What player should I take? It's
Celebrini, I think. I mean, we can head over to Celebrini now. Obviously, my number 1. He stays number 1. Demidov is up from 4, by the way. I mean, the thing I always have been saying about Celebrini is he's just a really good hockey player.
He's an amazing
he's
hockey
just a really
player.
Good hockey player, guys. I don't know. He goes out. He's not a big physical player, but he is hounding puck carriers often. He causes turnovers.
Oh, he's a nightmare.
He's a great offensive transition guy. He can pass the puck. He can carry it. In the offensive zone, he's not taking crappy shots from the perimeter.
Never.
He's working his way into scoring
His
areas.
shot is insane.
His shot is insane.
One-timers, a missile.
There's just a lot. There is a lot going on for him.
His anticipation. Remember what I was saying about how Hellenius looks for that moment to impact the game?
Yeah.
And Artemonov is like constantly shuffling around looking for it. Celebrini is, if you took both of that, made it better,
right? Yeah.
Then put it in the brain of a guy who understands hockey better than both of them.
Right.
You get a guy who is consistently cycling in and out of play. Every detail of his route is perfected.
Yeah.
Like everything he does on the ice, every movement he makes, how fast he recognizes. He's like, oh, this no longer works for me. Better go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Play is going this way. I got to go here. But he's right there in the play all the time.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Like he's never really ever making mistakes. It's just perfect hockey.
Yeah. By the way, since the new year for Boston University, he has not scored a point in 2 games since January 9th.
And that would be return from the World Juniors where he was.
That's it. Where he was by
sick.
far the most exciting Canadian on the team.
Without
a question. But yeah, I mean, I again, like Celebrini, if it was the day of the draft, he's the guy. He's a center. He's really good at it.
He's
good at everything.
Definitely like a really good first line center in the NHL. And I'm saying really good, like conservatively almost.
Well,
like,
that's
he
the
could
thing.
be like a top 10 center in the NHL.
Yeah,
And like you don't not take those guys first overall.
Well, my whole
better,
thing,
Demidov better get on that cereal box.
yeah, I mean, yeah, like Demidov, Greg Revac commented again, Celebrini and Demidov, then everybody else, and I think I
agree.
with
Like
that.
I've got them in their own tier. I
think
love
Berkeley,
Cat and Lindstrom, but they're tier 2, and it's just those two there.
Like Berkeley Catton, I think can hold a candle to those guys with regards to how good he makes everyone else, and like how much he hosts such a good puck distributor and playmaker, and those high level sort of instincts at full go is really impressive. And Caden Lindstrom, like the tools are really good. Like the potential with a guy like that is just sky high. But Celebrini just brings so much to the table, and you don't have to really worry about it.
You don't have to worry about anything.
But I will also say for fans out there of teams who may not win the lottery or will be upset and complain that the lottery is rigged when your team doesn't win it,
when Chicago
there are a lot
of,
right. There's a lot of good players this year. Like there's good players. I don't think it's the most tremendous draft, but if you're a team that like has the 4th best odds and you end up drafting 5th or 6th, you're probably going to have a shot at a Berkeley Catton or Ivan Demidov. Like I get the feeling that the defensemen are going to go early, push some of these really talented forwards down a bit.
Yep.
And you know, go from there.
Lepchinov and Salayev almost feel like a guaranteed 2-3 in my head.
I think it also depends on who wins the Stanley Cup, because I think the recency bias of watching those teams win the Stanley Cup, they kind of go into the draft and go, this team just won the Stanley Cup doing this, therefore we should draft this type of player.
Tyler Myers holds that Conn Smythe, Celebrini will go second.
Yeah. And Salayev will go first.
Absolutely not.
AJ, how you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm doing okay.
But figure I'd bring you in a little bit, I suppose.
It's all good. This is more your guys' show for tonight, anyways. So
yeah,
just hanging in.
Yeah, but so that's it. That's the first round. So we can go through. I mean, Sam, I don't know if you have what your workers or anyone you want to compare and contrast. I have a list of guys that I have ranked really high and really low and not at all.
Let's go through the not at alls.
So
I feel like that's probably the best place.
So the highest ranked player on average in my database that I don't have ranked is Henry Muse. And I like when I don't rank a player, it's like not because I really hate the way they play or I'm saying anything negative about the guy at all. But with Henry Muse, it's like he's a very smart guy. Like when I watch him play at the OHL level, he's making smart plays.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes.
But that's really where it starts and ends for me. Like it's when he doesn't have the puck, he falls in with the crowd to me. When he has the puck, if he's not just making a play with it, it's not much is going on. You know, and by making a play, I mean finding a target, timing his passes correctly.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff.
He jack of all trades, master of none.
Sure. It's that thing where like when you describe a player, especially in the NHL draft high up, you go, he's good at a lot and not great at a lot. Like he's good at a lot, but not great. And that's to me, it's like, well, you got to be able to identify what the job is going to be, you know, like, or at least what possible jobs could be a thing. You know,
does an NHL coach want to do with Henry Muse?
Yeah. The next one is Maxime Massé, who I've had him ranked before. He's probably the best player that I don't have on my list. I think
he's now on my list.
Yeah, like I'm not going to complain if he's a second round pick or something. He's big. He's got some really impressive playmaking moments. I think like for a big guy, protects the puck pretty well. But I think there are just a lot like with Massé. I kind of looked at where he was on the list, and I looked at where the other guys were that I found similar that I liked a little bit more, right? Like a Fyodor Avramov over in Russia, who I think plays a faster game, a more skilled game, a better shooter. You know, yeah, it's in Russia, but I think there's a good future for him. I don't know if you have anything else to add on Massé before we move on to the next one.
No, you pretty much nailed it.
Tarek Parasak is the other one that I don't have ranked.
I moved him up.
You moved him up, eh? I mean, I've seen Parasak a bunch this year because, again, I don't have him ranked and people do. And I think that whenever that happens, I need to really, really do my homework and really read up on him and watch. And I don't know, like how much value does a guy like that have? Where
not that much. I lean more so to the point of just like somewhere in the second round, or at least from my second round, it makes sense to have the guy who just plays third on a line really, really well. Just really smart, always seems to do the right thing and be in the right spot. There's really no separation ability and no high-end skill and no ability to manipulate in the NHL level and none of that stuff. And, it's probably going to be a huge problem and he might not play. Most guys I have in that range are also going to run into their own variation of issues that will prevent them from playing. At least with Tarek, it's like, okay, if a lot of things do work out, big if, you see an NHL player in terms of how he reads the game and how he'll just make the quick passes and can identify a dangerous lane when it's right there. I mean, it's not a resounding review because it's not really, I'm not sitting here going like, man, you're whack. It's just like, I at least have an appreciation for what he can do and what limitations he has, and versus like all the other things that the players surrounding him have issues with. And what are the odds of it getting better? What even are they in the NHL?
The thing for me is like the filter that I always ask myself is like, at any given point in the NHL draft, when you have to pick one guy, when is he the best player available?
Never for me.
And that's what I think is what, like, if that's my answer, I like, there's someone I'm excited about, whether they're a third liner in, like in Sweden, whatever. If I think there's something there with someone that I'm excited, like genuinely excited about and see a roadmap for, I'll go for it. But with Parasak, I get it. He scores. But I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. Leo Celine Rolanius is another one I don't have ranked. I've just seen him a bunch this year, and again, it's just like I look at him and other defensemen in the draft, and I go, he just kind of misses the cut a little bit. EJ Emery is another one who I had ranked up until like early this week, and then I watched another game of him, and I just went, you know what? Again, it's the same thing as like a Massé and a Muse, and where it's like I don't actively think he's bad, but he's just not my guy, right? Like he's just it's a anyway, you've seen him. I'm just going to bang through a couple here on the list because I don't want to do this forever, but Justin Poirier and Sam O'Reilly are two other ones that I thought were interesting. I mean, Poirier scores a lot of goals, but does it through shooting the puck a tremendous amount. I watched a game of him this week that I felt honestly like Raul Boyard. Like I don't think he's like an elite, super high end prospect, but he was driving the bus for Poirier a ton, getting the puck to Poirier a ton. Poirier shoots, and he shoots pretty well.
He does,
but I just don't. He's like a 5'8" guy who's not a burner, not super skilled,
and only the best of the best at 5'8" play.
But granted, what I will say with Justin Poirier is maybe he turns out to be that Joshua type guy where he's troubling as a draft eligible, but you can go to him and go, look, we gotta, you're not a bad skater. But the thing is, you're going to have to be like a finisher, like a catch and release or catch and make a play guy. You got to think quick. You got to know what you're doing. Because that's what my read on the biggest difference between Joshua when he was a draft eligible and now is that he just seems to have a job of get me the puck in the offensive zone or across the offensive blue line. I will make a skill move, or I will turn and change directions. I will make one little thing to make something happen. And I've got a great shot. Worst case scenario, I've got a great shot to lean on. And maybe Poirier is something like that. And the last one was Sam O'Reilly. Sam O'Reilly, I think, is one of the most projectable players that I don't have ranked. He's a hard worker. He's a hard-nosed dude. But again, it's like do you draft guys in the OHL who play like third line NHLers in the OHL, right? Like I don't think you do.
No, you don't.
But I like him.
You can find guys like that on waivers every year.
Like I feel like he'll be a fourth line, third line, just a hard-nosed dude who can battle and hit and smash, and that's fine. It's all cool. Just not, again, it's like I look at the guys on my list that are at the end and I go, I'm more excited about these other dudes. Speaking of which, I do want to shout out one guy on the London Knights who I caught a little while ago while watching O'Reilly, and Dickinson. I want to give a shout out to what's his name? I can't even remember his name. He has the best name in the world, and I can't remember him. William Nickel, a guy who's playing like fourth line minutes for the London Knights.
You forgot a player with your own name?
Yeah. What's my name again? You know the Blink-182 song. You know, what's my name again?
Yo. That's
a joke.
Nuts.
That's a joke. I grew up with Blink-182.
No, I get it.
I remember when my parents forbade me from listening to that band because I was about 8. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Forbade Blink-182.
I'm telling you.
Have that
when Blink-182 hit
music. And
dude, the 90s were a different time.
Man,
nowadays
Mortal Kombat hit the media and everything broke for those poor kids.
Exactly. But yeah, I just really have liked William Nickel as a London Knight. Super skilled guy, really productive, and I think he's just getting that, I don't know how you would call it, like London does this all the time with guys where they just have good players. Like they did this with Dickinson last year. It's like, you're playing 6 minutes tonight and you're gonna like it. You're like, okay, yeah. It's like he might, like a guy like Nickel might be a second liner on Niagara or a first liner on Niagara, but he's a fourth liner on London, and I like him. You should check him out. He's pretty solid if you haven't seen him. But in that at this point, we'll switch over to chat questions.
How about we switch over to Sam questions first?
Okay, Sam questions first. Go.
Where's Luke Osborne?
Where is Luke Osborne? Luke is sitting at 50.
Stream's over.
Up from 54. I like Luke Osborne a lot. I think there's a nice long-term project guy there. I haven't seen him in a while, so I'll check in again. But he's creeping up. He's sort of, creeping up. Yeah.
Respectable.
Yeah. Anyway, next.
That ends Sam's question.
Oh, that's it. Oh, okay, cool. Great.
Short segment.
Nice,
I had
nice
three
and
other
easy.
players that have actually, hold on, I do remember now. Cole Hudson.
Oh, Cole Hudson is at 60.
Okay.
But I have time for him higher.
Bednarik.
Nowadays. Bednarik. I actually just watched him. 57 for Bednarik. Again, a guy I have time for. He was pretty good the game I watched. He is down quite a bit. He was 40 on my board.
Yeah, he was
earlier. And Hudson, I think Hudson's got a lot better this year. I still just go, he's got to either hit or he's not going to do anything in the NHL.
Yeah,
which is scary.
Oscar Voulette.
He's barely clinging to life. He's number 80.
I think
80.
that I don't have. It's not sitting here with Oscar.
He's
Voulette
80 of
much
80.
Higher. I'm just curious. I like him a lot. I don't think he's going to play in the NHL.
Yeah, go fast, shoot hard.
I do think his off-puck game is better than people think. Like, he's a smart off.
There's not a whole lot of people talking about Oscar Voulet's off-puck game, to be fair. It's not something you hear talked about on CP24 here in the GTA very often.
Yeah. This is fair. I bet I could go to, like, what's the hockey board site that's HF Boards?
Yeah, that's the one.
I bet I could go to HF Boards, and even then, I'm not going to open up a Voulette thread and find people talking about his off-puck game.
No, I'm trying to remember the last time I went on that website. I might have been in university.
It was
like 2012.
I go once a year, twice a year, open it up, look through.
Yeah.
There's always one dude who I'll be like, that's actually makes a lot of sense. And I'll open up his thing and I'll read his comment history.
Yeah.
I'm like, you get it.
Yeah.
And then, like, everyone is just yelling at this person.
Why are you booing me? I'm right.
And they're just like, I don't know. And they're like completely level-headed. And I noticed their account history doesn't go back very far, and then I never see them again. I don't go on it much. I go on it like once a year.
Yeah,
it's awful sometimes.
It's like Mad Max. It's like the Mad Max universe there of hockey.
Yeah, I feel bad for the people trying to have real conversation on that, because it just doesn't really work. There's
well, yeah, I mean, but there's a community, man. There's a community on that website. People love it, but yeah. Anyway,
Adam Kleber
is right after Bednarik, I think, at 58.
Okay, that's fair.
I like him.
I know, so do I.
I like him. He's fun.
Think that's most of the players that I was.
Really interested in my late second round, eh?
Yeah. A lot of that happens to be a lot of my early second round.
All right.
John Whipple.
Oh, he's on the watch list. He's also barely clinging to life.
Boo!
Dude, I don't know.
Why are you booing me? I'm right.
Yeah. Well, you booed yourself.
I know.
So
I am the one clinging to life on the John Whipple. Like I know what I witnessed, man.
Tomorrow I will be doing a game of his. Tomorrow, it's on the schedule.
Coincidence.
It's a schedule that I have.
I know that's why I'm saying it's what a coincidence.
Yeah, it's been a very long time since I've seen the NTDP, and that's my job this week is seeing them. And
is mostly in the exact same form he was the last time. I'm sure you watched him. Like if you're not gonna come away with like a revelation, it's just I know I saw what I saw when I first watched him. One of the first players of this draft I watched a long time ago. Holy man, the stuff this guy had in his toolkit and how much he just went. The NTDP was like, all right, well, defend, kid. And he went, all right, guys. I
would love to see him. Like, I just love to see him work out.
He's got a college breakout coming for
like
sure.
Third or fourth round, and you want to throw a flyer at him, I'll do it. I get it. I've seen what you've seen, but he's not like, whenever I watch him this year, it's just like, you're doing a whole lot of very little, but you look real good doing it.
Yeah,
you know?
I
Which
think
is cool.
It's just not a ton of impact.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he sort of unlocks some stuff.
I think there's so much underneath the surface with him that I've got a lot of time. I'd be very interested in chatting with him and seeing where his head's at.
I'll have better takes tomorrow on John Whipple.
All right,
is that all you got
to that tomorrow's stream?
All right. We're not doing a show tomorrow, by the way. Yeah, we're not doing back-to-back days. We're gonna let the NHL season come to a close, and then we're gonna have some playoff fun. Yeah.
Well, fine.
Yeah.
Be that way.
Just FYI, Sammy. Okay. Any other Sam questions? Any other?
No, I think it's time for chat.
Yeah, we got a few in here, and a few asking about the list specifically. So we'll get there. First, I do want to shout out Jay Milk. Hello again, my friend, member of the Discord community, for shouting out Connor Lee having a historic EIHL D-1 year over in Britain. Granted, I will say this: Connor Lee plays about a minute and a half a game, which is hilarious that's a thing that they have to do over there. But I think he looks pretty good. Like, he's a fast, fun, up and down guy. I think
the historic is like, what's the history he's competing against? Like,
I think he has 1 point in the EIHL. And I think at the same, he says he might be the next Liam Kirk. And I believe at this age, at the same age, Liam Kirk was playing in the EIHL and had 0 points, I think.
Historic indeed.
Yeah, historic with 1 point. But I honestly, I have Connor Lee down to check out next year. And if he's in the EIHL, great. That's a pro league, and Britain, underrated hockey country, honestly. Underrated. They're
I think it's...
Yeah, what, you're not a fan of the Dundee Clan. You're not a fan of the Braeside, whatever they're called, the Nottingham Panthers.
I'm a big supporter of growing the game ever, so I am not going to sit there and badmouth English hockey.
Right, the great Tony Hand.
Turn around and call them underrated. I don't think they're underrated.
The soul of the great Tony Hand is in the room with us for sure. Even though he's still alive, he's not dead. But
is he with Rick Vive?
Well. No, I wish I had a giant portrait of Tony Hand, because that guy rocks.
Would you put it with your giant portrait of Rick Vive?
Probably. Yeah.
Where do you have your giant portrait of Rick Vive ranked?
Ranked?
Yeah.
Well, in terms of all the portraits in this room.
No, on your draft list.
He's too old to be drafted. Yeah, we can't.
Fine, it's the portrait. Where are you taking it?
No, I'm D&D. It's a D&D. It's old. He's too old. It's too old. Anyway, Ray Bro, hello, graphic designer, sir. Hi, Sam and other guy. Oh, that's a good one. Are there any players in the 2024 draft class who have generated significant buzz due to a unique playing style or exceptional performances? I mean, I'm trying to think of guys who have had great single performances that put them on the map. I mean, maybe
for us, I know that one Miguel Marquez game did a lot.
Yeah, Miguel Marquez.
It's like someone trying a really good illegal substance for the first time. When you're just like, wow, I'm really chasing that. And then you watch more games and you're like, it's close.
For a unique playing style, I mean, Demidov comes to mind.
Demidov is the first one I thought of because there's not really guys who play like him in any recent draft or this year, and there won't be for a bit. He's just so unique, but everyone knows Demidov. That's not really a fun answer.
I was also pleasantly surprised at how much I liked Zeev Buium this year. After watching him with Denver a couple of games, like I felt like he hit the ground running there. The first couple of games I saw, he did not seem to be missing a beat, but I'd say those would be ones.
I think there's an easy answer. But it's from a long time ago, and it would have been Aaron Kiviharju when he was the best 14-year-old in the world.
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
I mean, he did.
I hope he comes back, man. I want to see him again. I was
speaking of HF boards. Last year, I made sure to read that thread, and it was hilarious because there were comments from like 2020 that were like, "This dude is a Norris."
Yeah,
I don't know if they said those words specifically, but like that is the gist of it. Like that you couldn't control the hype.
Where's it now, boys?
Someone asked about him in the chat as well. Where's Kiviharju? I mean, I have Kiviharju. I put him higher than I had him.
He's like mid second for me.
Yeah, 56 on my list. But
man, that's everyone's just asking about like your 56 to 62 range right now.
He wasn't great this year. He wasn't great last year. We're talking about NHL
passer.
We're talking about NHL players. Like, yeah, he's a ridiculously gifted pass first guy, but the rest of the picture is really murky for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I also just want to see him come back. Like, it's also just because like I have more certainty in these other guys because you've seen a lot more of them. And whenever I've watched Kiviharju over the years, he's been not that top elite level guy that he's painted to be to me at least. Question from ATC Strings. Any thoughts on the two Caps prospects who just signed in Cam Allen and Brett Hyland? I mean, I'm not a huge Cam Allen fan. Yeah, seems like it. An ELC. Brett Hyland. I like Brett Hyland. I don't think he's an NHL player by any means, but whenever he played for Brandon a couple years ago, or like whenever he was playing there, and I saw him, solid dude. He's a good player, but I don't know where he goes at all. Also can't say I've paid a tremendous amount of attention specifically to him. What are some notable trends or patterns in the styles of play amongst prospects in the draft class? I mean, the biggest one to me is there's a lot of brain first guys, got smart players.
Yeah.
Really smart. Just guys who get it, make good plays. I'd say the skill level is kind of up and down, kind of meh. But there's a lot of just really smart, like Iginla, Brandstake Newgard, Celebrini, of course, Catton, Lachenko, like just a bunch of smart dudes, just go out there and play the game well. Dvorsky and Hellenius stand out as guys you were way lower on than most. Is there something they have in common or is it a coincidence? Well, I guess there's some commonalities. Fire away.
Low pace.
Yeah, like Dvorsky was, and I'd say is kind of slow when you ratchet things up, and just I don't know, I watched him a ton last year and I saw a guy who struggled to generate separation and a guy who struggled to use the tools that he like it's another one where the best thing this player does is shoot the puck, but getting the player in a position to shoot the puck is difficult at high levels. Like that's the problem, and that's part of the problem with a guy like Yzerman to me is like unbelievable shooter, but sometimes putting him in a position to shoot the puck, at least projecting to higher levels, is a bit of a struggle. Hellenius, though, on the other hand, I think is more just, like the lower pace, not super skilled, but just very, very smart. Not super big, but just very, very smart. And to me, like, it's like how I had Reinbacher in the 20s last year to me. Yeah, I thought, Reinbacher's a good player. I think he'll be a solid NHL guy. I just think there's better players available. And with Hellenius, it's like, I think he's fine. It's just, I'm not doing the George Costanza by pushing everyone out of the way at a children's birthday party to pick him before everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna build off of it, but it's like I realized I would be saying the same thing I said earlier.
How do teams' drafting strategies and priorities seem to be evolving in response to changes in the NHL landscape and development trends? Raber, are you going to school all of a sudden? That's a hell of a question.
Yeah, really.
How do they seem to be evolving? I mean, I think the thing that's interesting now is you definitely, when you sort of do with the whole draft as a whole. You see how teams kind of want to play or think like for example, like it doesn't surprise me that the Anaheim Ducks are supposedly thinking about moving Trevor Zegras, because I watched how they draft and I'm like, yeah, he seems like a bit of a fish out of water in that group. But yeah, so like that's been very interesting. And with regards to development, I don't know. I mean, there's definitely a lot more involvement with a lot more hands in the pie than there used to be. And more teams are doing more, but I don't have enough inside knowledge to speak to that a ton. Someone mentioning that losing a Tanisov for the last 20 games of the season probably doesn't help the offense in Nizhny Novgorod, which is fair. But a Tanisov is fine. Watching Survivor is like watching the Leafs in the playoffs, except no one survives. So if they fail this year, does management have to tear the team apart?
No.
No.
It's not going to happen.
No.
Yes.
It's not going to happen.
Yes.
No. What'll happen is John
Rip
Tavares...
it to shreds.
No.
Break it into pieces.
Sam, I have let you
dust.
talk for like an hour and 40 minutes. Let me have my moment.
How does it feel,
Not
AJ?
good. Not good at all. But
go ahead. Take it away.
The way I look at it is the John Tavares signing was a failure. All right? It's as simple as that. He may have scored the winning goal that got him through to the second round, but overall... That's $11 million that
was an $11 million goal.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? Like, it could have been
Tavares
used.
Catching strays.
But the truth is, it's like, think about what Zach Hyman's doing now in Edmonton. Not that he would have done this in Toronto. Think about what Nazem Kadri did with Colorado. If they had Zach Hyman and Nazem Kadri instead of John Tavares, the team probably wins a cup or is much closer to winning a cup than they were. And that was the biggest mistake. I don't think it's on the three other guys. I don't
think it's an unreasonable thing to say. I
think that's fair. Entirely fair.
I can't believe this is how we discover that AJ won't have a giant portrait of John Tavares in his house one day.
I mean, I like John Tavares, and in his first season, he was still a top.
Well, first
10.
couple seasons, he was great, but
really, it was the first season. Like, he was still a top 10 player in the league. They paid him to be a top 10 player in the league, and they only got one top 10 player level season.
Right.
And so it's been a bit rocky.
Spending money. Yep.
And I think that's the change that happens. And they're not going to change it next year because he's got 1 year left. So once that money comes off the books, they're a lot more free to go out and really take another crack at this, but it's tough, man. I feel like that hampered them significantly.
Don't spend money on unrestricted free agents when they're 30 or whatever. Actually, he was young. That was it, whatever. But
only sign UFAs that are 22.
I mean, my thing with Tavares was like the window was open the day you signed him, and they botched it like multiple years in a row. Like they did not have bad teams, and they just botched it and embarrassed themselves a bunch of times. So anyway, but yeah, now it's a bit of an issue. What do we got here? Fastest straight line skater in the draft.
Luke Misa.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe Misa. Let me check the database because I do track guys that go blue line to blue line in game. Let's see. Demidov is up there. Consta Hellenius. Oh, but that's because Finland, I think their blue lines are closer together. Because Finland, for some reason, there's a big correlation in my database of guys going blue line to blue line and having really fast numbers relative to everyone else.
But not having the eye test of that speed.
Not really pass the smell test. But the rest, Demidov, Chernyshov, Franzen, Dickinson, Hage, Hemming, Catton. Those guys are all pretty high up there. Avramov, Ustinkov, surprisingly. Truff.
Ustinkov.
And Heinonen are all up there as well. But also, like, I'm not saying that this is gospel because it's literally just how fast they go from blue line to blue line at any given time in a game that I see them. And I just saved the fastest one because I'm curious more than anything. Stop yapping and reveal. That's a good one. I like that. Can we get an update on Jaden Lipinski? I honestly can't really give you much of an update. I have
Haven't
not
seen
seen
him.
much of Vancouver this year at all. 66 points in 67 games this year.
He's 1 point away from being good. Sorry.
I don't know. I always like Jaden Lipinski. He's fine. I mean, I think there could be an NHL guy there. He's decent. Okay, Greg Revac went ham here a little bit. Liam Greentree is a better Luca Del Bel Belouz. I think that's an
I
interesting
looked
thought.
over and saw that,
Yeah.
and Greg, I chuckled when I read
Yeah,
that.
it's an interesting one.
I see where he's coming
Yeah.
from. I don't agree with it, but I can, and then knowing how he thinks about players,
Yeah.
I'm not surprised whatsoever. And
Yeah.
he's got a sense for some of these things.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. He also mentioned that 2024 is a poor draft, so trade all your picks for 25s. I mean, here we can touch on the under 16 nationals a bit, because you and I have watched a ton of it over the last week. USA Hockey under 16 nationals.
Yeah.
If you weren't aware, some really interesting players there for next season and the year after.
There's definitely some enticing players.
Yeah, like the guys that I had marked down, like Sam Spahar.
Yeah,
Spahar
I feel like I
Sioux
had
Falls.
one of the more, like, I've seen
That guy
him.
rules.
That he's got some stuff. I think he's got more than I've seen.
Both games I watched him in this tournament, he was
he's
he was
bonkers.
outrageous, and his team was not great. JP Hurlburt, obviously, he's a 2008. I
was
really
gonna
liked
say
him
he's
playing up an
younger,
age
but
group. Jackson Crowder, I have written down as a good one from that. Hayden Russell, I really liked a guy on the Long Island Gulls, Jesse Orlowski. I liked him a lot. Anthony Bongo on Shattuck St. Mary's.
Shattuck's got quite a few.
Shattuck was
guys.
really good.
Lawrence is really good.
Yeah.
Gavin Cots.
Yeah, Gavin Cates. He scored both goals in their game that I watched today, where he scored. Oh no, it was a 4-3 win. He scored with a minute and a half left in the game to tie it, and then he scored the overtime winner.
He also scored 2 goals in the game I did. What game
Granted-
did you do?
Wait, what? We'll talk about this later. Let's not get sidetracked during the show.
Yeah,
But there's some
Shattuck
good
had a
ones.
defenseman as well, Kyle Heger.
Yep.
Hager?
Yeah, I have him written down as well.
He
Stevie Grumley. There was a few really
Yeah.
fun defensemen. Brendan Espinel, who I think I mentioned to you, was
Yes.
really good. And his teammate Braden Thompson, who's an 08 from Winnipeg, I believe.
Nicholas Kasiba from Little Caesars.
Yeah, he was one I
Evan
watched today. He was
Jardine
great.
as well.
Yep. Yeah. So, a lot of fun. Let's go back to the chat.
Just a quick shout out to everybody. We'll actually put together like a really comprehensive piece on everything about we think regarding nationals and some of these players
Oh yeah.
for Puck Preps.
Yes.
Subscribe
Yeah. Go subscribe. Do it.
now.
Yeah. Now or else.
If it's not done by the end of the stream, we'll know.
Yeah. And we have ways of finding you. Thoughts on Charlie Ellick? I think he'll go higher than I would take him. But
He smash.
yeah, he smashes. He's probably the most. I wrote this in the full article for the rankings, but he's probably the guy in the draft that's wired to be physical the most. Like that's just his. That's his game right there.
The NHL is going, whatever NHL team is like, man, who's the defenseman that's going to smash everybody?
Yeah, him. He's one.
We'll
of them.
take Charlie Ellick.
I like Stolberg more for that. I like Solberg more because he friggin' goes and he is a very good skater, and I think he's a better passer than Ellick. But
Ellick's
wired the same way.
Canadian
That is true, and he plays for a good old boy team in Brandon. So
and plays like a good old boy.
and plays like a good old boy. But I mean, I don't know. I think there's a lot of limits on his game. Is Demidov Logan Cooley to Macklin's Shane Wright?
Okay, I love this.
That sounds like a
because-
trap.
Okay, I will answer. Yes, but Macklin isn't Shane Wright. That's the problem. It's like if Shane Wright was what Shane Wright was like hyped up to be going into the year as like this big exceptional status player and stuff like that, and lived up through and through all year long, Logan Cooley would be that sick player who was like managed to be like right down his neck, and you could still argue kind of ahead of him.
Right.
Celebrini is not failing to live up to his reputation. Celebrini had an unbelievable campaign this year. He is every bit as worthy as first overall as he could be, or as he should be, sorry. But Ivan Demidov is right there. And he is insane.
They are
and
very-
he has more upside offensively than Celebrini does, which is akin to Cooley having more than Wright.
Right.
So in a way, I think, yes, if the point of the question is framed as like, you know, is Celebrini going to kind of, are people going to look back and be like, why did Demidov even, how did anyone ever consider Celebrini above Demidov when you look at their draft year tape and how it all played out? That's not going to happen. Just
as a note, by the way, because while you were talking, I just had the thought in my head of how bad I want Ivan Demidov to work out as well as he could. He, just for the record, was when he played for 1946, which is their junior team, he was on pace for 128 points in a full season, which is insane. Points on 45% of his team's goals when he was in the games. His rate of primary points per 60 minutes, according to Instat, which is, you know, whatever, 4.95 per 60 primary at even strength, which is insane. Celebrini was at 3.5 for the record, granted NCAA, but insane. But total points per 60, 6.4 at even strength, which is absolutely outrageous, and no one even comes close to touching that. His rate of even strength goals for when he was on the ice as a team, 6.8, and his rate of even strength goals against per 60 minutes as a team with him on the ice, 0.8. So there's a net difference in goals for rates with him on the ice at even strength for St. Petersburg of 6. So for every goal that was scored on him, they were scoring 6 goals. Ridiculous! It's ridiculous. I want him to work so bad. I hope it works out because he is so much fun.
Look, I'm still not 1,000% convinced that when the final list comes out, Ivan Demidov is in number 1. Like, I'm still, it'll really come down to a coin flip the day of, but like,
do you like Artemi Panarin or do you like Jonathan Taves? You know, what do you, I don't know. I probably would go with Taves, park him with some good players, but holy smokes, I don't know. Who knows? For all we know, Demidov could be like the guy that goes 9th because of something. I don't know. Who knows? Michkov went 7th. So
okay,
Michkov went after Dmitry Simashev, which is
great.
And I love Simashev, but that's
like an all-time fact.
That's an all-time something. We'll see how it works out. I do remember the clip of Demidov, or not Demidov, of Michkov versus Simashev, and Simashev pounded him into the dirt physically a couple of times, but that's neither here nor there. Who do you see Chicago taking at number 2, given their needs and the Russian factor most likely affecting Demidov? I take Demidov. Yeah. Take Connor Bedard and put him on the ice with Ivan Demidov.
It's a no.
Connor Bedard would score 80 goals.
I feel like if I'm Chicago, I take Demidov first.
Yeah, I mean, you already have.
You've already got like that. Like either again, you don't lose from taking Celebrini. It's just that's the one of them where it's like, well, I already got first line center. Now I just need first line.
You've got your
winger.
Bedard.
You have all time. That's like a draft pick you make, and you could be enshrined forever. People will just be like, oh, look at the genius one of the greatest duos of a decade or something. Like
he's just so ridiculous. But I don't know. I find that a hard thing to pass on. But who knows? Opinions on Torrey Pittner. I honestly have not seen him.
I like Pittner
as much as I should, so I will pass over to you.
He'll be a good college defender for sure.
I could see that based on what
I think he'll end up being a pretty good AHL defenseman. I just don't think the tools are there for the NHL job, but he is such a fun player to watch.
Right.
When you remove the NHL projection, and you definitely, when I'm doing things for puck preps in a college production sense, I'm like, Pittner really grows on the list of like, yeah, you were one of the more entertaining players to watch. When you see him in the USHL, like, there are flaws that are evident in his game, but he really plays smart. He is aware of pressure. He loves to try and like make fun plays without exceeding the risk reward boundary of, wow, why are you doing that? I'm on board.
Fair enough. We got 5 minutes left in the show, so let's bang through as many of these questions as we possibly can without going over too long. So what do we got here? Who is this year's Jacob Fowler? A goalie? I mean,
Me.
Jacob Fowler was the data guy last year. All the data on him was really good. So I'm going to throw Evan Gardner out there, Saskatoon Blades goaltender, who just puts up really, really good numbers. And I've liked him whenever I've watched him. Who do you think is the most Hurricanes player of this draft? I don't know. Ray?
Yeah.
I don't know. Stiga. Teddy Stiga sounds like a Hurricane.
Teddy Stiga's.
I think it's Alphonse Frey. I think you're
Zane
right.
Parekh. Like
Basha.
Zane Parekh could be a Hurricane. I could see that happening. There's a bunch of them. What else do we have here? Adam Kleber we went over. Alex Zetterberg. Someone asked where he was ranked. I have Zetterberg. He is ranked. I didn't have him ranked before, I don't think. He's at 64. I like him. He's grown on me over the year, but it's overdue for me to take another look.
Did you get to the question about where Celebrini's ranked among the last 10?
I didn't see that one. But where is he in the last 10 overall picks?
Yeah,
or
10
first
first overall picks.
Well, let me pull up a list.
I did mine, and he ends up at 7.
So 10 years back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Starting at
Ekblad.
McDavid then?
So Ekblad. So
Oh,
I mean, I would put.
I started at McDavid because that would be.
Okay, well, either way, right? Like I put him behind McDavid,
Yes.
behind Matthews.
Yes.
I see him kind of similarly to like a Heischer kind of
Yes.
vibe.
That's
just
where I
maybe a
had
little
it.
bit. Yeah,
So
like maybe a little.
I had
think
McDavid,
I like
Matthews,
He-
Bedard, Hughes, Dahlin, Heischer, Celebrini, Slav, Power, and then Lafreniere is what I think.
Honestly, yeah, like I'd be splitting hairs if I criticized that. I might put him ahead of like Dahlin, but Dahlin's so good. I
would have him and Dahlin pretty much around the same. Lean
I would-
Dahlin, have Celebrini ahead of Heischer.
yeah, like McDavid, Matthews, Bedard, Jack Hughes for sure. I think are ahead of him.
Yes.
But it's very close
I
between
do
him,
lean
Dahlin,
but it'll
Heischer,
be like you're
Power,
not losing with
Slavkovsky.
either of them, right?
Someone asked about Franz Hara. He's like a 20-year-old Swede who I kind of think is neat, but tough question because he's older and I don't know. He could get drafted based on what I've seen of him. Weekly recurring question: how do you rank Catton, Iginla, Lindstrom, Demidov if you're picking for Montreal? If I'm picking for Montreal, Catton dude, come on. Berkeley Catton on Montreal is what they're so desperate for.
They're so
You need
desperate
another
for an
center.
Ivan Demidov.
I mean, yeah, I guess they could use a Demidov as
use
well.
both.
One of those two. Yeah, either
I'm
one of
not
those.
passing on Demidov for positional need.
Right, that's fair. That's a fair point. So Demidov. Thoughts on Nick Lardis, who signed his ELC? Undersized, but good shooter, good scorer, good vibes. I don't know. Yeah. What are the flaws or issues with Maxime Gridden? Gridden just doesn't really do anything except catch pucks in stride really, really well and punch into the offensive zone and make some really good plays. He just doesn't do much else. Like that's from what I've seen of him. Like super high end individual moments with him. I could see why people really like him, but I don't know. He's a bit of a weird one. Are Nolan Allen and Ethan Del Mastro future Hawks defensemen or just AHL players? Well, the Blackhawks have been playing pretty much anyone with a pair of feet to play defense on their team.
Interesting team to have used this question for.
They're gonna play. I like Del Mastro more personally.
Del Mastro will play.
I think they'll both play. I think I'd put my money on Del Mastro being the better one. I've really dug sort of the defense first style of game that he brings. Tell me why I should be booking a first class ticket on the Andrew Basha hype train. Why will he be an NHLer? Because he's ridiculously skilled and quick and dangerous. He's a dangerous boy. I'm getting word from David Phillips that Bulat Aksyanov was robbed from the top 80. That's true. Not having David here, no more crazy, weird Russian guys playing in the Ukrainian 4th division or something who, whatever.
Yeah, our engagements are going to go down 20% because of all the comments that he leaves about MHLers.
Yeah, I ain't shook. Have you seen Elite Meat and Potatoes guy Elliot Grunewald? Yes, that name rings a bell. I will probably know more once I see who he plays for. Quinnipiac boy. Oh no, he's going to Quinnipiac, but he plays for Cedar Rapids. I don't have a good answer, so I'll take a look at him because he is pretty highly regarded, I suppose. Thoughts Thoughts on Lucas Fisher, a big defenseman with a skill set, seems to outplay, but September birthday on a struggling offensive team. I wasn't huge on Fisher when I've seen him this year. I do get it. Like, he's big and an okay skater, and there are moments of skill, but whenever I watch him, I kind of, again, it's like, do I get excited about him?
No,
Not really. But
I could see it
solid.
working itself out
Yes.
to maybe like, oh wow, Lucas Fisher's
Yep.
playing his first NHL game tonight. That's
Yes.
cool, but
Exactly.
like,
not huge expectations for
Yep.
him. But he is very young, and that works in his favor for sure. And I think there is some merit to like tall, gigantic, young defenders being
You
a
know
little
who
bit
else is young?
underfined. Also
Luke
would want to know
Osborne.
what?
So you know how else is young? Luke Osborne.
That's true.
That's why he
Yep.
played for Youngstown.
Exactly. Young.
That was
Yeah, he plays for
awful.
Youngstown.
Someone shoot me.
Also would want to know if you've seen Noel Franzen. I love him. He's 33rd on my list. I don't understand why he's not ranked. It's to the point where I feel like he might have done naughty things and teams don't want to touch him. I don't know. I don't have any information about that, but I don't understand
Yeah,
it.
I don't get it.
Every piece of criticism I've seen about him, I watch him and I go, I'm not seeing it. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm not seeing it.
Very good.
Has Bedard met your expectations, exceeded them, or disappointed? I'd say he met them.
Yeah,
Like,
I'd say he met them.
I thought he'd be a really good offensive player right away with some defensive gaps and some defensive issues, especially if they put him at center. And that's kind of what it is. I mean, yeah, he is on a bad team, but if you look, he is one of the lower end defensive players in the entire league, you know, including all the Chicago guys, but he outweighs it with the terrific offense. It's just ridiculous.
Honestly,
It's
the fact that
broken.
he's near a point per game has kind of exceeded my expectations just a bit.
Right.
Like, you know, it's tough to come
like a
into the
bit,
league
yeah.
and almost put up a point per game. So
I
would say
think he
he's
has a
exceeded
monster
mine.
year next year. Yeah. I hope he keeps the fishbowl forever. It's kind of a good look for him. I think it's pretty cool, even though the boomers won't like it. I think it's pretty cool. Anyway, top 5 picks if you combined last year's draft and this year's draft. That's a very good question.
Bedard, Fantilli,
yeah.
Carlson,
and then
Yeah.
Celebrini.
well, is this knowing how Leo Carlson did this year or at the time of the draft?
I still think I would go with Carlson just because of like the size, and he's more physical than Celebrini. He gets up and down the ice, I think, a little bit better.
See, I have Michkov 3, Carlson 4. I don't disagree with where you're coming from with Celebrini and Carlson.
Yeah, that's true. I think
But
I
I'm
had
sitting
Michkov ahead of
here-
Carlson. Yeah.
But I'm sitting here going, but I like Demidov more than Michkov. And I feel like this is making me go back to the Demidov.
We're having an existential
Is this
crisis live
how
on camera.
I swear document this moment. This
Yeah.
might be what pushes me over the edge.
It is literally being documented, so don't worry
All
about
right,
that.
Ivan Demidov, number 1.
All right,
I'm gonna
let's
sit
ride.
there and think about this for a week now.
Yeah. Someone
then
asked
change your
about
mind.
Muse. We kind of yeah, exactly. Someone asked about Muse, that they see a bit of Jordan Spence. I don't. But you know, if you want to see a Jordan Spence, like Alphonse Frey strikes me as that kind of a guy. Super skilled, slippery, talented offensive guy. Anyway, Hurricanes signed Bradley Nadeau last year, burning an ELC, and he's going to play in the NHL. I think that is true. I mean, he's been great for Maine this year. When I've seen them this season,
He was great.
He was great. High flying, high skill guy. Burning an ELC year, to me, all that means is you sign him a year earlier, and he probably will be cheaper because you won't have as much time. But I think he could be a good sort of middle 6 offensive guy. You know,
Yeah.
super talented. How high would you take absolute unicorn Timur Cole? Wow, that's a name. So Timur Cole is the second last name on my list. He's 79th. But he is, again, like we're talking, someone asked about Lucas Fisher, who is a very, very young, lanky, tall defenseman, and Timur Cole is the same. He's very, very young, played pro hockey already this season in the 2nd division in Russia. Didn't really look that out of place. Really good shot from the point. I don't know how much you've seen of him, if anything. But
Not a whole lot.
nothing spectacular, but I do like him quite a bit. Tons of fun to watch. Well, not tons of fun to watch, but
Tons.
didn't look out of place in the KHL, and that is interesting.
Exuding
Yeah,
fun.
exuding it out of his eye holes,
I can't
all
s-
of it.
I can't stop thinking about the Demidov thing.
Oh boy. Well, we've lost Sam for the night.
Seed's been planted.
So on that note, I think we should call it. Thank you everybody for tuning in again. The full list and everything will be out tomorrow morning. If you are extremely impatient or really like what we're doing here, you could subscribe on scouting.ca and you'll get access to all of our stuff as it happens early. Well, not as it happens. Well, you get it all early before the public. And the last thing I wanted to mention, those office hours posts, there's another one coming, but those from now on will be paywalled. So if you want to get sort of those data first insights on guys that are going on in the database on my end of things, that's where you can go. They'll be posted in the blogs for supporters and partners over at scouching.ca. So on that note, we're going to call it. So thank you very much again for joining us. Once again, we're voting. We are brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our affiliate link code below. By the way, vote. If you ever get the chance, you should vote. Just throwing that out there. Because I don't know, my Freudian slip of the tongue, and now I'm thinking about.
Thought it was going to be a
about my civic duty.
slip of the tongue. About, like,
oh, that too. Yeah, be sure to cast your votes for who goes home in Survivor. I know my Survivor pool's going okay.
And don't tell us right now, because
please don't spoil it.
Casting a vote for Will.
Oh, okay.
Vote.
William Nickel. Will vote. Yeah, there it is. We're brought to you by Fanatics. You can use our affiliate link code below or scan the QR code to provide a kickback to the show for the show on anything you buy in the shop. You can also help us out through a Puck Prep subscription where you can read all of the limitless game reports we've both filed for the under 16 nationals, which I honestly have really enjoyed. It's been a lot of fun watching those guys.
Amazing tournament.
Yeah, it's a big fun time. And congratulations to, I believe, the Long Island Gulls won the whole thing. I think they won. They won the overtime game in the semifinals that I watched today over Little Caesars. But anyway, and Fractal Hockey Consulting, which is my business for hand track targeted player analysis and recruitment packages for the NCAA Europe and beyond. And of course, you can get in touch with us directly if you are a player playing at the Division 3, Division 1, or U Sports level to get in touch with the Golden Bucket Tournament for opportunities to play overseas in Europe in a variety of locations. And you can also subscribe to Scouching.ca and get exclusive access to data tools, early access to blogs, a wonderful Discord server that we love very much, and tons of unparalleled insights into the draft, the prospects, and players making their way to the NHL. On that note, that's going to be it. Sam, thank you again for coming by. It's been a while.
Thanks
nice
for
to see
having
you. Yep. Producer AJ, we're back in the full swing of things. We're going to have some videos out, I think, in the next little while.
Yep.
So stay tuned for that. And
I've started working on the mini Scouching reports, we'll call them, for TikTok and YouTube Shorts. The first one will be Nikita Artemonov. So I'm just putting viz on that currently. Hoping to get that out shortly. I don't know how Will's going to release it, if it's going to go to subscribers first.
Yeah.
But
okay, we'll figure that. We'll figure it out.
But yeah, we'll figure it out, and it'll definitely be out in the next week.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you very much, and we'll see you around.
Yes, you will.
And we'll see you on Monday night, assuming you're around. And
yes.
okay. Well, Monday night it is. See you around.
Good night,
Toodles,
everyone.
y'all.
Go Leafs, go.